Welcome to another day's edition of the Damascus Encounter. On the program today, again, we shall be experiencing a beautiful testimony that has to do with Jesus altering somebody's life ambition. Dreams are things we all grow up with. Ambitions, things we thought we would do in life. But then at some point we get to encounter Jesus and that dramatic turn sets in. I have with me in the studio today a very pleasant child of God who encountered Jesus in a very unique way. He'll be sharing his story, and I want you to welcome with me Ehis Ebusele. Ehis, you're welcome to the Damascus Encounter.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, very pleasant and indeed very interesting to have you in the house.
Thank you.
Let's talk about your encounter with Jesus, but before then, we'll look into your growing up. You weren't born into a Christian home. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's right. I wasn't born into a Christian home. I remember staying in a room with my mom, growing up with an idol at the back of the room I was sleeping for like 17 years of my age.
She had an idol?
Yeah, she had an idol.
So she was a worshipper?
Yeah, she was a worshipper of the idol. I remember there was a tortoise at the bottom of the table where she had her idols, where she does her incantations, and then once in a while, she actually sacrifices to the idol with cock and all of that.
So, sorry, permit me to come in.
Yeah.
This tortoise, a live tortoise or just the image of a tortoise?
A live tortoise, of course.
Live tortoise.
A live tortoise was right there. And of course, owned by my mom, so I wasn't scared. And I remember, I never participated in all of idol worship, but I was right there with her all through. And then as a toddler, I remember following my auntie to a church. And when I became a teenager, I decided to join a Pentecostal church. That was where I had my nominal Christian experience. I was in the choir, doing all of that. I remember joining the drama group and all of that. And then when I finished my secondary school, I moved to the city where I stayed with my sister, a Seventh-day Adventist.
Okay, so before we get to that part of the story,
all right.
The Pentecostal church you attended, when you started attending it, what was the catch in it for you? Why did you go to that particular church?
Well, as it were, we all grew up, being affiliated to one, Christian religion or the other. I wouldn't want to mention the name as it were, but, growing up in my village, we were all, engaged in religious activities, and so I didn't want to be different. So in a way, I joined this Pentecostal church where we were attracted to, some of the things they do. Like I said, I was in the choir. I played some instruments, jazz band, and all of that. So just as a teenage boy, we were attracted to some of the things they do there.
Okay, because I'm just interested, looking back, because stepping into now the Christian church, even though it's a Pentecostal church, how were you able to reconcile when you look back at what would happen when your mom did her traditional worship thing to what you were doing now? Are you going to church? How did that marry?
Yeah, sincerely, I want to say that even while I was going to the church, like I said, my mom still had her idol. Okay. She didn't prevent me from going to church per se, and I wasn't very directly involved. Okay. So it was more as well just a thing that we do as teenage, as it were, and it didn't conflict in any way because I wasn't so involved with the idolatry.
Okay. Did you ever ask your mom questions? Why this?
No, not exactly. Yeah, because she didn't bother me going to church. I wasn't too inquisitive asking her, because growing up, a whole lot of her mates were into it, so it was just a normal thing. And so because she was letting me go to church as well, so I didn't question much. Yeah.
So let's talk now about your coming to stay with your sister.
Yeah.
And so, now you encountered Seventh-day Adventists.
Yeah, I started staying with my sister after my secondary school days in Benin. And then I started following her to church, the Seventh-day Adventist church. At a point in my life, I just realized that I got used to the way they worship. That was the first attraction, the solemnity, and then the truth that they talk about. But however, I had my own ambition to become a professional footballer, so I was into professional football. I signed for a club at that time. And then I just told God, I said, you know what, let me have some breakthrough, then make some money, and then I'll serve you. I wasn't a very bad person growing up, so even when I had settled in my mind I was going to serve God as a Seventh-day Adventist, I needed time to do what I wanted to do, like the professional football and all of that. So in my mind, I told God, let me just have some breakthrough in this professional football, and then I will come and serve you, as it were.
Okay. Now, I just want, for the benefit of the viewer,
Yeah.
When you said you fell in love over time with the mode of worship in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Oftentimes, people come from either a Pentecostal background. When they get introduced to Adventism, it feels kind of boring. You know, when you look at the mode of worship, the solemnity that comes with the Adventist mode of worship, as against Pentecostal. In your own experience, was it that very wide gap, or you
sincerely, sincerely, I must say that, well, when I was in Pentecostal church, with all of the vibes and all of that, I noticed that there was this kind of show off. There was this kind of competition, who plays that, who does that, and all of that. So we're trying to fit in. When the Seventh-day Adventists, you don't struggle to fit in. Things are done in a way that, of course, everybody can get involved. The solemnity actually gives you a time of repose, and then for you to reflect on a whole lot of things. So when I came into the Seventh-day Adventists, I actually just felt at home. Sincerely, I must be frank. Maybe that was God working in me, as it were. For some people who have struggles, I didn't have that struggle. I got used to the worship at first, and then the message. I remember joining the Seventh-day Adventist and asking a whole lot of questions. I was bombarding my Sabbath school teacher with questions and all of that. And then I just got used to the worship, and I told myself, if I must give my life to Christ, I'll be a Seventh-day Adventist. But then the ambition of being a professional football was there into actually, because I know when I actually give my life to Christ, it was going to conflict with my professional football. Yeah. Remember, most of the professional games are played on Sabbath. And then I was like, God, just let me have a breakthrough. I did actually have breakthrough. I signed for a professional club. Then I had issues, and some people suggested, well, you can't just play football with, mere just being good. Somebody suggested me, taking me out to a place where I can actually visit and then have a bath and all of that, and then I would be good enough,
a kind of ritual thing.
Oh yeah, a ritual thing.
For recognition.
For recognition.
That will hit you to stardom.
That's right. Okay,
I was going to ask you though, when this dream, this ambition of doing professional football, soccer.
Yeah.
Who were your mentors? Who did you look up to? Who were the stars at the time that really propelled you, that you were looking up to? Someday, I hope I hit this mark, and then I will come back halftime for God.
Of course, professional football was a good business at that time. Okocha, Daniel Omonkachi, and then I had a brother who was into professional football too, who didn't make it, and he gave me a whole lot of support. The whole family supported me to play football, and they were making all the connections for me to travel abroad and all of that. But I noticed that the more I tried this thing, there were just some hitches. And deep down in my heart, I knew that God wanted me to serve him. Like I said, I was telling God, just let me have a breakthrough, let me go to the top, and then I'll come back to serve you. And then when it dawned on me that, well, you know what, this professional football was not working, I became more churchy. And when I say churchy, nominal, just doing my own thing in the Seventh-day Adventist. And in March 2022, I was actually given an opportunity to serve as a Sabbath school teacher. I remember we were studying the lesson, The Great Controversy. And there I noticed that as I studied and I taught in the Sabbath school, I noticed that there was no in-between in serving God. I realized that I either give my life to Christ or I'm lost. I remember an experience where I was sleeping at night and I saw myself actually pulling through the burglary of my house. and taken up into heavens. I was so glad. But all of a sudden, I saw myself coming down, and then I woke up. It dawned on me that, well, you know what? Heaven is actually attainable, but it has to do with a choice. It has to do with a choice.
So, would you describe that dream? Did you consider it as your Damascus encounter? Was that a life-altering moment for you?
Yes, sincerely, I must be frank on that. I consider myself privileged then to have had that experience, because I know that God was telling me, you know what, it is possible for you to make heaven, but you need to make that choice. Like I said, I was having this struggle in my heart, whether or whether not. Well, I'm just in between. And then when I had that experience, I felt, well, I have to make a decision. And there and then I made that decision, and I remember one night telling God, you know what, I'm done with professional football. I want to serve you.
I'm giving it all up.
I'm giving it all to you. And I remember after that night, it was a Tuesday, I went to church on Wednesday, midweek prayers, and I made that covenant again with God and that commitment. The Thursday morning, a family friend of ours called me and said, hey, is this your football? You have your wife. Are you still sticking to it? I told her, I said, I just made the decision last night that I'm going to serve God. And she said, you know what? I have Babcock University entrance form. The last one with me. I'll buy it for you. Will you want to go to Babcock University? I said, you know what? I'll give it a try. She gave me that form, and I wrote that exam in June there about 2002, and I came into Babcock University. And I tell you sincerely, the experience of giving my life to Christ in 2002 is the best that has ever happened to my life. It's the best that has ever happened.
That's interesting. And then if we look at your coming into Babcock, into the university now, you had to come study, what course did you study?
I studied accounting.
Accounting.
I studied accounting.
So professionally, you are an accountant.
Yes, by God's special
and
grace.
Today you work with the
Bursary Division Procurement
of
Unit.
University
Yeah.
in procurement.
Yes.
Okay, now let's talk a little bit about when you look back. You said there's been no regrets, because sometimes people encounter Jesus and then things get on a smooth sail, but then there are some challenges and problems that come along the way. How have you been able to cope with those challenges?
Yeah.
If you have any you want to share.
Well, I would want to say that, well, it's been a very good scale through since I gave my life to Christ in 2002. I don't really have a story per se now, apart from the daily temptations, as it were, that comes every now and then with the daily issues of life, as it were. But I want to say that, you know what, when I was in the professional football, I had so much challenges. I felt, unloved, because it's an arena of, competition, as it were. I remember somebody telling me, you know what, Satan is actually in to destroy your professional football because he's covering you with a kind of a shadow that is not making you shine. Some people suggested a whole lot of things. But I came into Christ, came into Babcock University as a student, and I felt so loved, with students and staff, and I like, you know what, I feel Satan has a way of making you feel, well, you know what you are doing is not going through because you have not paid homage to me. Like I told you, people suggested, ritual cleansing and all of that for me to hit the roof in my professional football. But I think God has given me so much grace to enjoy in my stay with Him, that where perhaps future might bring up some challenges. I'd love to share it when it comes. But as it well, it's been a good scale. Yeah. It's been very faithful.
Did you ever not experience personally, that picture that you try to make us see, the idea of people, it's as if, let me know if I got this right. People see that you are a star, and then it looks like something is veiling and covering you. And except you go to do something like a kind of cleansing ritual, that the veil might not be lifted, and then you will not be able to hit stardom.
That's right.
And meaning that some people actually do this.
Well,
did you know, you may not necessarily want to mention who, but, I just want a picture that helps the audience capture that what you had to turn your eyes away from, and how much God helped you.
Yes, I want to confess that, well, the professional club I signed for then, of course, I won't want to mention the name. Somebody right there who was working in that place actually told me, he said, you know what, a whole lot of these players that you are seeing, I have taken them somewhere. And you can't just break in through without you following me to that place. So I want to believe that, well, for some people who decided to, I don't know per se, but I remember a professional footballer who after football said, you know, we do these things for protection. You know, we do these things for protection as it were. But, you know, everybody know why they do what they are doing. But I must confess that I decided to play a blind spot to that, and I have never regretted doing that.
Did you wake up? Because you know why I'm asking?
Yeah.
There was a time in my own journey, I needed a car very badly.
Okay.
I was involved in an accident, and everything suggested to me, if you had a car, you wouldn't be in this place, in that position. And so somebody suggested to me, I'll do something for you.
Wow.
You can go to the bank and you can speak with the bank manager, you get a loan. And he asked me, you surely pay back, won't you? I said, yes, I'm going to, I intend paying. He said, so you need a car. Because if you had a car, you wouldn't be in that accident. And I had to struggle with this idea of me going to do some kind of ritual, something given to me, I'm armed with it. I go to the bank manager, I do my talking, I get the loan. And I would wake up in the night, be wondering, should I not? Should I not? And you know, there's a way it keeps you up and you are wondering, am I making the right? Something that makes you feel this is your opportunity, grab it. I just wanted to know if you had those moments also where you wondered, should I not?
Sincerely, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't, because, you know, like I said, I got used to serving God well, even though it was a nominal way. But deep down in my heart, I knew I was going to serve God. Right. And then the only struggle I had was the fact that I told God, I said, you know what, I have left these things, you know, because of you. So, but let me have the breakthrough so that these people will know that I didn't have to dabble into what they suggested, and yet I made it.
And it pays to serve.
Yeah, it pays to serve you. So let me have a breakthrough in my professional football. I remember a sister of mine saw me in Benin. She knew I was into professional football, and she told me, she said, we all growing up knowing our mothers to do some kind of fetish things and all of that, but you know what, this is your football, you can never get a breakthrough, because I know a whole lot of people who got breakthrough who actually went into some kind of diabolical means. And I know that your family is not into that kind of big stuff in diabolical things as well. Okay. And the day she told me that, it actually hits me so hard. And I'm like, even if I get a breakthrough, a lot of people are going to feel, well, I paid my dues. You understand what I'm saying? A whole lot of people are going to feel I paid my dues. I keep telling people, I say, you know what, all of these things you feel you want to do, an ambition, be very careful. Because as it were, there are some things you will need to do on earth that you must pay your dues. You must pay your dues. And I want to say that it is only in the Christian race that I know that the only dues you have to do is just to give your life to Christ. And then is a good one. You don't have to make any sacrifice. It's been made.
That's amazing. And I must commend you, because that's very, very strong testimony. As our time begins to wind down, you want to share a little bit about your professional experience. Now an accountant. People get into accounting, accountancy. It's a big thing around here. Everybody wants to be chartered and stuff. You have those dreams.
Well, let me be very frank. I have a whole lot of things I want to do for God that I feel, well, I should mellow down on career pursuits. It's a personal decision, and by God's special grace, I can see that it's opening doors for me to do that. And I want to stay focused, and I want to see how much I can do for Him. Because looking back to my life, I have seen that God has done a whole lot. And I want to do the much I can for Him in a little way. So I'm not pursuing a very big career as it will. For those who are, I thank God for them. And I want to be sure that by God's special grace, I will do the little I can for him in my little way.
In terms of evangelism, winning souls for Christ, drawing people, attracting people to Jesus, since God has helped you, because as it were, all along, from childhood, God had kept you, even without your knowing. It's like there's a mission.
Yeah.
You are destined for serving me and doing big things.
Yeah.
So in terms of evangelizing,
Yeah.
do you have dreams of, what are your goals, your aims, if you want to share, apart from just
by
serving
God, by God's special grace, as it were now, I run an evangelism team where we actually do outreach.
Okay.
By God's special grace, we have had evangelism here and there, and God has been faithful. I wouldn't want to talk so much about it because I don't like talking so much about what I do for God. I prefer to talk about what God is doing for me.
Your trumpet.
I love talking about what God has done for me. But I want to say that my sole objective is to win as many souls for Christ as much as possible. And I'm doing it in my own little way, by God's special grace.
If you were asked, this is a university campus.
Yeah.
Meets a lot of young people, young
Yeah.
minds. And you're looking for how to arrest their attention and get, these days people have all these ideas of, to the young stars, young minds growing up, I'll look into the God business later. There's only one life. Let me enjoy life for now. How would you love to, if you were to share with people, what was the biggest thing you would say God has done for you that you think would be an eye-opener for youngsters who are growing up?
Well, there are a whole lot of things God has done for me. But I remember I actually asked God for who to marry, for instance, because, of course, that determines a whole lot what you can do for God. And I gave God specifics, and I said, this is what I want for a wife. And I can tell you sincerely, it meets my needs. It meets my needs. I have a wife today who is helping out in my evangelistic missions and ambition. And I hope one of these days she will come and tell her redemption story as well. So that's something I must say that God has done for me. And subsequently, a whole lot. I remember I needed few things for my evangelical missions, and God provided in a whole lot of miraculous way. I remember I needed a van for evangelism, and somebody just overnight donated $6,000 for that van to be bought.
Wow.
And today, it's well equipped for an evangelism without me having to borrow. $6,000 was donated to somebody. Yeah.
Have you ever considered being a pastor?
No, not exactly.
Not at all.
Yeah. I remember, I when I was in school, in my 200 level, we did the week of spiritual emphasis. I actually told God, if you want me to be a pastor, let this happen and that, but it didn't happen. And then I just realized that, well, I can work for God, not necessarily being a paid pastor as it were.
So at that time you thought maybe you might veer into pastoral work?
I thought of it then, yeah. I think it was in my 200 level, yeah. I think it was my 200 level. But after which, I think I realized now that just working for God as a lay, person.
What's your perspective when we talk about, in church we have those who, as it were, are the frontliners when it comes to evangelism. They have all the reports, they do this, they do that. But here you are, quietly in the background, doing your own thing. Talking about quiet and silent workers for Jesus. That's what, in my mind, I consider you to be. What advice do you have for people who think, I am not an evangelist or doing big things if I'm not heard, seen, compared to just doing your thing one-on-one, a quiet way? What advice would you give?
Well, you see, in the things of God, I wouldn't want to say, well, for somebody who feel he should be heard doing the things of God is doing it wrongly, so that I don't pass judgment. But I want to say that, well, when you are doing things for God, you need to be as moderate as possible and as quiet as possible. You know, God is a God that there are some things I wish to do for God and I struggle. Should I do it or should I not? But one thing I would never stop to do is if I see you doing things for God and you need my assistance, I would definitely render. But if I have to do mine, it's as quiet as I would possibly want it to be. And that's the reason why I'm not telling you all the things I have possibly done, as it were, for God in my life.
And should the day come and God says to you, I need you to be a pastor, would you respond?
If God says so, yes.
You will.
Of course.
And anywhere you're sent to?
By God's special grace, I will wish to be there. And I know that for his sake, he will lead me through anywhere with Christ.
That's interesting. So, in winding up now, your wife, she's working?
No, she's independent. She's doing her own thing. Oh. Yeah, we made that arrangement because we, of course, so that we can do what we have to do by God's special grace.
And how about the children?
Yeah, I have one kid by God's special grace. And that's, of course, even part of, you know, some of the things we have planned such that we can do some things for God. Just one, so that we are not too large. Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
And I will tell you, it's amazing seeing this perspective of serving God without any temptation of wanting to be seen or loud and making the noise out there. I want to believe your story has touched some life and somebody also would take a decision for Christ as a result of your testimony.
Amen.
Thank you for sharing, and I pray the Lord continue to bless you,
Amen.
Keep you, direct you, and keep you focused always on Jesus.
Amen.
That will be all on today's edition of the program, the Damascus Encounter. We have shared this beautiful story of our brother Ehiz Ebosele, who has had his encounter with Jesus, gave up his lifelong ambition of professional soccer playing for serving God and going to school. And he has done that, and he is still doing that. Perhaps God has been calling you, that silent voice that has been reaching out to you. You may want to consider, especially as you know today, there's plenty of joy in serving Jesus. Until next time, when we bring you a fresh edition of the Damascus Encounter, I want to thank you for being a part of the program today, hoping that you keep looking out for Jesus as you watch Hope Channel and expect your own encounter with Jesus. Bye-bye.